Welcome back to the second part of the exam pack or the exam preparation. Right, so the second part we are first going to look at the next question, which will say simplify when Afrikaans vereenvoudig. Alright, so simplify or vereenvoudig means that you have to get rid of your brackets. So we are going to take our first term, which is 2x, and we are going to multiply it with each term in my second bracket. So I'm going to multiply it with 3x squared, with minus 4x, and with 3. So doing this, I will get 2x times 3x squared gives me 6x to the power of 3. Then 2x times negative 4x becomes negative 8x squared. And then 2x times 3 becomes plus 6x. Alright, now let's take our second term, which is negative 5, and we are going to multiply it with every term in my second bracket. Alright, so negative 5 times 3 becomes negative 15x squared. Negative 5 times negative 4x becomes positive 20x. And then negative 5 times 3 becomes negative 50. Now you're going to put all your like terms, al jou soortgelyke terme, together. So I have a x squared here and an x squared there. I also have a normal x here and a normal x there. Alright, so this will give me 6x to the power of 3 minus 8x squared minus 15x squared becomes negative 23x squared. 6 plus 20 becomes 26x, and then I have my negative 50. Right, and this is your final answer. Remember, with simplification, you're not allowed to have any brackets in your final answer. Alright, let's have a look at question number 2. Alright, so in your test, you're definitely going to get a factorizing type of fraction like this. Alright, so what I like to do is I like to take my fraction and break it up into 4 parts. Alright, so this will be part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. And then what I do is I factorize each part individually. If it cannot factorize, then that's fine. However, if it can factorize, that is what I'm doing now. So let's look at part number 1 first. So I have 3x squared minus 3. Now I can immediately see that here and here is both a 3, so I have a common factor of 3. So taking that out will leave me with x squared. 3 divided by 3 gives me minus 1. Now this is also the difference of 2 squares, which means I have actually 3x minus 1 and x plus 1. Obviously, if you're struggling with factorization, you will struggle with the fractions. Alright. So make sure you know how to factorize before you try and attempt these questions. So knowing that this is my answer, I can put that back into part 1, which is now 3 bracket x minus 1 bracket x plus 1. Alright, now let's have a look at number 2. Alright, so part number 2 is x squared minus 5x minus 6. Alright, so I can immediately see that this is a 3-term or trinomial. So I'm first going to look at my sign in front of my number. So that is a negative, meaning that one bracket has to be positive, one bracket has to be negative. Now the factors of x squared will only be 1 times 1, and then the factors of 6 is 1 times 6 or 2 times 3. Alright, so let's quickly draw our table. So I'm going to take this, I have an x and an x, and let's say we're first going to attempt 1 and 6. Alright, so I have 1 and 6. Now we're going to cross multiply, so x times 6 becomes 6x, and x times 1 becomes x. Using these two numbers, let's check if we can get negative 5x. Remember, one has to be positive and one has to be negative. Alright, so 6x minus x will give me 5x. However, I want it to be negative, So I'm going to switch these two around, and I have x minus 6x, which in fact gives me negative 5x. Alright, so this combination here did in fact give me what I wanted there, so I know that this and this will be in one bracket, and this will be in a second bracket. Alright, so this will become x and 1, x and 6. Now you just have to decide which bracket is going to be your positive, which one's going to be your negative. So I always take my first term and my last term, multiply them together, which gives me 6x. And I know that my 6x was negative, meaning that this has to be negative and this has to be positive. Alright, so now we take the factorized answer, we put it back into number 2. So number 2 was at the bottom, so it will become x plus 1, x minus 6. Alright, let me just quickly erase all of this. So we have place to write new things. Alright, remember on your question paper, you're always more than welcome to write down all of these things if there's not necessarily space on your double folio, but you're always allowed to use your question paper. Alright, now remember when I divide with a fraction, I actually have to flip and multiply. Okay, so in Afrikaans praat ons van flip en mul. So that means I'm going to change my division sign into a multiplication sign, and where I had option 3 over 4, it's going to be 4 over 3. Okay, so let's take number 4, which was x minus 6. There is nothing we can do with this part, so I'm just going to leave it as x minus 6. Put it in a bracket. Then at the bottom half, I'm going to have option 3, which is 1 minus x. Now we don't usually like our x being negative, so to make it positive, or to switch it around, I'm going to take out a negative, and then it becomes x minus 1. Alright, this is a very important thing to remember, but whenever your x is negative, to switch it around to make the x positive, I have to take out a minus, meaning that both things inside my bracket signs will change. Alright, so this becomes negative bracket x minus 1. Okay, so the fact that all of this is multiplication, I can see where I can cancel. Alright, so this x minus 6 and this x minus 6 will cancel. This x minus 1 and this x minus 1 will cancel. This x plus 1 and x plus 1 will cancel. So I'm only left with a 3 and a 1 and a minus 1. So this will become 3 times minus 1, which is negative 3. Right, so this one isn't too difficult. Just remember in the test, you're going to get marks for everything you had to factorize, for remembering that dividing is actually multiplying and flipping it around, and then did you cancel correctly. You can only cancel a numerator with a denominator. You kan net 'n noemer en 'n teller met mekaar kanselleer. Right, if both of them are on top, so both are numerators, you cannot cancel them. Right, so let's have a look at question 3. So question 3 is a exponential fraction. So here it's always important to check what is my sign in between my exponents. So my sign in between is going to be a negative. That means I have to get a common factor, something I can cancel. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is break apart my exponents. So I'm going to change this into 3 to the power of x times 3 to the power of minus 1. Alright, and then yeah, 3 to the power of x plus 1, which I'm going to break up into 3 to the power of x times 3 to the power of 1. So all we are doing is we are giving both our letter as well as our number in the exponent its own base. Alright, so putting that in, I have 3 to the power of x minus 3 to the power of x times 3 to the power of negative 1 over 5. Remember, a point in mathematics means multiply, so 5 times 3 to the power of x minus 3x times 3 to the power of 1. Now I'm going to check if I have a common factor. So in fact, here I have an x, 3 to the power of x, here I have a 3 to the power of x. So I'm going to take out a 3 to the power of x, and if I remove this one and I remove this one, I can see that I'm left with a placeholder 1 minus 3 to the power of negative 1. Okay, then we're going to do the same at the bottom. So here I have a 3 to the power of x, here I have a 3 to the power of x. I'm taking out a common factor of 3 to the power of x. Now if I remove this one and I remove this one, I'm left with 5 minus 3. Alright, now we can see that this 3 to the power of x can cancel with this 3 to the power of x, which leaves me only with what is left in my bracket. Okay, you can use your calculator on this step, or you can use your brain, whatever you feel like. So 3 to the power of negative 1 will become 1 minus 1 over 3, and then 5 minus 3 is 2. So this will become 4 over 3 divided by 2, which is the same as 4 over 3, times 1 over 2, which will give me 4 over 6, which is the same as 2 over 3. Alright, definitely use your calculator in these steps so that you don't lose unnecessary marks. Make sure you still show all your steps, but you're more than welcome to check, did you do the correct thing with your calculator? Alright, so in part 3 we are going to continue with a few more examples as well as other questions you can expect.